an app. Oh, okay. An app that most of us have already used. I think Cowrywise was for the longest period a sort of design standard for most, Nigerian apps built in Nigeria, mobile apps built in Nigeria. Sorry. That's something. And yeah, I'm also very excited to, hear from him. And I think someone needs to mute themselves. Bibo. Thank you. Then, yeah, I'm happy to hear from him as well. And, learn a lot from his career journey. So I think most of us know him as O3 Codes. And yeah, welcome to our meetup today, boss.
Hello, everyone. Good morning.
Morning.
Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can at least.
All right, and thank you, Toby and Ashley for the invite. So yeah, so I have like what's it called? I have a kind of list of things I'm meant to talk about that Taslim shared with me. So yeah, so the first thing is where I first started from, my educational background and all of that. So I can get right into it, right? Or it's extend with that formality?
No, yeah, you can just go on.
Okay, yeah, so I went to UI, that's University of Ibadan, yeah, where I studied computer science, even though I didn't really learn much from there, but yeah, I went to UI. And so while I was in UI, I joined a couple of tech groups there. There was the GDD group, there was the Microsoft student group too. There was IEEE Extreme, so yeah, so the whole tech community thing did play a part in my career journey. Yeah, so my first interaction with like writing code for someone else aside learning was when I did a friend's final year project. So it was in Java, but it was a Java desktop app done with there's a bit of noise there. Okay, yeah, so it was a Java desktop app done with JavaFX. It took about a month, 2 months to complete. And then after that, I started slowly transitioning into Android and, and the whole Android community. So yeah, so I started with Java when I was in my 300 level. We had this, so when I was in my 200 level, we had this tech event in school, and where people were meant to do like a presentation of apps they built and everything. So while I was working on my app for that period, I met this friend that introduced me to a company in Ibadan where I got my first original role, right? That was my first actual full-time role. So I was meant to be an Android developer there. So yeah, I was meant to be an Android developer there. The first thing we worked on was a push notifications library for Android using XMPP. So we did that on Android. We did that on C# for Windows Phone as well. And they were planning on doing it on iOS before I left. So yeah, I think I'm talking about my experiences now. So after I left there, I worked I got a contract role at IITA in Ibadan. So that was for 3 months. I wrote Java, not Android. But yeah, that's how the progression was going. So I started off as a backend-ish Java guy, and then so I started off as a backend-ish Java guy, and then I slowly started transitioning into Android development. So yeah, the contract gig at IITA was it was with Java Web, that's Spring Boot and Spring Boot, Hibernate, and that whole community. And yeah, after I left there, so I had a Python backend role. What's it called? In between, before that, I'm an next role, but that's not really so relevant. So yeah, this talk. So, but yeah, after that, I got a remote role, and this was for backend Python and Android. So it was like a full stack role, and I think that role was one of the most important roles that I had in my career, because I was initially the only developer on the team, and the startup had quite a lot of money. And and I said that because I was able to like experiment with a lot of things, right? I was given almost full AWS access. I had resources to learn Java, to learn Python, most of those things that I needed. And then I was building the Android app from scratch. So that was when I first started to learn architecture patterns, MVC, MVVM, because I had the freedom to use whatever language I wanted to use. I started off using Kotlin, and that was like my first experience with Kotlin as well. I was always very reluctant to use Kotlin for anything, especially when it was announced in, I can't remember the year, as an official language. I felt like, why do I need to learn Kotlin? But once I had the opportunity that, I was free to use whatever I wanted to use, then I picked up Kotlin, and then I used that for
Nigeria. You don't even know where to get, even if you have your money. You don't even know
hello.
where to move fast.
Okay. So yeah, so a bit after that role, I got that when I applied to Cowrywise, and that was in 2018. And then I initially joined as an Android developer. Right. So I had the choice to choose between going into, because I was kind of a full stack person then. So I had the choice to go into my face is showing now. So I had the choice to be a backend developer or to work on the mobile app. So I chose to work on the mobile app first. And yeah, so the mobile app was built in Java initially when I joined, and then it had event bus retrofit. It didn't exactly have an architecture per se, but yeah, we worked with that, and then we kind of patched everything. The app was running, it was serving over 100,000 users, it was working well. There were like crash clicks errors all the time and all of that. And I think that was about the point that I realized that, okay, we need to do something about this mobile app. And that was when the second Android guy joined the team. And then we both looked at it together. He proposed changes that we should do and all of that stuff. And then we switched we slowly also switched from Java to Kotlin. And we got to take advantage of coroutines and all of that switch stuff with Rome and all of that. And okay, so yeah, and yeah, so after we did that switch, we wrote an article about it on our blog. I think I tweeted about that once. Also, I also made a tweet about how we did the whole reduction from a 20 something MB app to less than a 10 MB app. And yeah, all that is on the blog. So how did I scale up for my current role, or how did I scale up between roles? So while I was in UI, right, one thing that helped a lot was having open source projects, right? So because it's really hard for anyone to hire you as a junior developer. I mean, it was hard then and it is hard now. But like one thing that helped was having open source projects. So I did a lot of side projects, wrote a lot of tiny libraries, And so when I applied to companies or to intern or to work there was like they had some reference to look at. They could look at, oh, I had written this thing in Java, I had done some apps like this, and so that really helped. And another thing that helped was going for meetups and conferences. Well, even though now I might be a bit biased to it, that it's not the same vibe that used to be then, So I learned about Firebase from a talk in, I think, 2017 by Prosper as a Unicode developer. And then from then I just went wild with it. So like going to conferences, hearing about new stuff actually helped. But I feel like conferences, let me not say this because it's being recorded, but yeah, so going for conferences to help. Networking on Twitter, on what else do people network on nowadays? And on community Slacks, I think Dev Center Square also played a really huge role, because they had some mini challenges they used to do, and then I'll try to take some of them up that time. And yeah, so where I am now, where I am currently at career-wise, responsibilities. So I'm majorly a backend guy now, even though like I still have a very good idea of how the Android app works, how the iOS app works, what the front end is doing. So it's almost like, so yeah, that's pretty much my responsibilities. So I work on infrastructure, setting up CIs, reviewing pull requests, stuff like that. Products built. So yeah, Android app, CarWise Android app, that's where I am currently. Then we have some tiny microservices that we work on. We have some tiny exciting projects. One of them is the saving goals thingy, which lets you save money every time your team scores. I think we have like 8 teams that you can save money for. There is the fraud detection thingy that we built. Yeah, there are quite a couple of projects. A lot of them are internal. The external facing one is the CarryWise platform that people interact with. Okay, then the next technical challenges I would like to solve. So that's really big, because I feel like even where I am right now, there's a lot of technical challenges that we try to solve on a daily basis. But I think one interesting thing I would like to work on is make like a documentation tool or something that could help automatically generate your documentation, and like I mean on code level, on API level, stuff like that. Next company I would like to join, I won't say the next company I would like to join, but like there are 2 companies I really like, and one is Square, and the second one is Twitter. I think they're both more or less the same company, but yeah, those are 2 companies that I really like. And Airbnb too. Yeah, those are really cool companies, and they have really cool open source projects that you could check out as well. Yes, so I think this is supposed to be the time where people ask me questions. Toby?
Yeah, thanks a lot for sharing all that information. I think you're someone that most of us Android devs look up to. With the amazing work you did with the CarryWise app, I think it was and still is a really big standard in how to make apps that users love for at least the Nigerian scene. And yeah, so if people have questions, now is the time to ask. No questions about recruiters ghosting you, please. You can DM him with your recruitment questions later. But while we wait for questions, You were the only Android dev at CarryWise for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
So did you like get into, things like expanding your team and maybe some leadership roles?
Yeah. So the thing we're working at in a startup is that it can't be a 9 to 5 for you. Like working in an early stage startup, you can't treat it as a 9 to 5. And then the first set of employees can't also treat it as a 9 to 5, because there are times that things would come up impromptu and then someone has to handle it. So if you that is meant to be the team lead is taking job at a 9 to 5, it's going to be very drastic for the whole of that team, right? So building the CarryWise team, especially the Android team, it was very important that people that were going to join understood why they were joining, understood that this is not just another gig for me. This is something that I need to put my effort into, right? And this is not to say that, oh, we are trying to enslave people or trying to make people work outside, do no work-life balance. But the truth is, you have to put in effort into this thing because we're still at the building stage, right? If we were in, maybe a Series D startup or something, you can afford to relax and think, yeah, we've gone for. But so it was important that people that joined understood that they weren't just joining another company, that they were trying to build something to, right? So and that's one thing that we really like. What's the word? We really try to push forward at CarryWise, like ownership. Like you need to, no one has to tell you that, oh, the app is down. Like you should know that, oh yes, I need to fix this thing. You should know that these are the next set of things. And then you should be the one that would tell like the CTO that, oh, we need to chill. I have to like do some architecture changes on this app now, because there's a lot of things going on and you cannot afford to be waiting for someone to give you instruction, right? So, and very luckily for us, right, the first Android guy that joined really just took like paid a lot of attention to the code, suggested changes and that and all of that, and it really just worked out. Same thing with the second Android guy that joined. So it's I do not know what's the word, what to call it, but it's something that you have to like look out for when you are hiring, that, oh, does this person understand what we're trying to build, and can this person add value to it? Not just, oh, can you write code? Because there are a lot of people that can write code, and if it was just about writing code, but yeah, it's more about, do you understand what we're doing, and can you like add to it?
So how big is the team currently?
I feel like I always have to check Slack when I'm asked this question. So the engineering team, there are currently 2 front-end guys, 4 back-end guys, 2 Android, 1 iOS, and 1 data scientist. And so we're hiring anyways. I don't know if people are aware. So yeah, if you're an iOS guy, a back-end guy, a front-end guy, yeah, we're hiring.
I keep thinking of the person that said something about ghosting. Well, yeah, so I think the floor is okay. Yeah, there's a question by Chizoba. I think he may have mistakenly sent it directly to me. So he's asking how much time is put into updating the code base to use new coding tools at CarryWise, I guess, or adding new features.
So that sounds like 2 questions.
Things
is
like
it adding new? What? Oh, Jetpack Comp. Oh.
Yeah, for example,
Can I ask it?
Yeah, please go ahead and ask your question before I spoil it.
Okay, cool. So what I wanted to figure out is there are new features to be added in your app. There are also maintenance stacks, right? Some of those maintenance stacks can be fixing issues, reducing regressions, let's say, improving processes like you mentioned, CI, and it could also be updating your code base to more modern structures. So say you're moving from the Android view system to Jetpack Compose. So what would you say, like in a year, what would be the ratio of the time taken to that the company gives into adding new features and the ratio of fixing or maintenance stacks?
Okay. So naturally, like the bulk of the time is going to be spent adding new product features. But I think what we focus on is on compatibility and on performance rather than like the new shiny stuff. So for example, if there is an update to, what can I use, to Roam that would make database operations faster or something, we would quickly implement that. Or if there's a new thing that would help Splash screen load faster, we would quickly implement that rather than wanting to switch to Jetpack Compose, which is, I'm not sure there is a lot of performance optimization that would give from what we currently have, right? So it's more about optimizing for performance rather than trying to switch to the new text, to the new shiny thing that is out, right? So if I was to give a percentage, I would say maybe 15% of the time is on moving to new tools and everything. And then 25% of the time is on doing optimizations and everything. And then the rest is for product features and updates.
Okay, do you have a follow-up?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I asked if you have a follow-up question or.
Oh, okay. So I think my other follow-up question would be, how seamless it is for the stakeholders, especially the non-technical ones, to buy into that 25% of improving structures that can relate in a better user experience or even more money or even like a faster product for you guys?
Yeah.
How easy is it to get those tasks to be done or put on your timeline of your project timeline?
And I'll admit with you, it is not easy at all. There is no way to convince the product manager or the CEO, for instance, that you are switching architecture or you are refactoring the code base. Like, to them, there isn't a business value in that, right? But then you need to be able to like stand your ground and say, oh, it is important that we do this thing right now, right? I remember for writing tests, for instance, right? I remember there was this time that during stand-up, like the Android engineers, they were trying to update the test, and then during stand-up for like a week, their updates were like, oh, I wrote test on this part of the code, I wrote test on this part of the code, and then they said so carefully, like, are you guys really working? Because like there's a lot of backlogs to work on, and then we're talking about writing unit test and updating the test, so it's really hard to convince people that, oh, we need to do this thing right now, but then you need to stand your ground. Same thing with if you're doing architecture changes. You need to tell them that we have to do this thing now. If we do not do this thing now, it's going to cause more problems for us in the future, right? And then try to be as what's the word? Don't use too much technical jargons when you're explaining to them, because they don't care. If you're telling them things like there's this new update for this version of the library, they don't really care. Explain in a way that would make sense. Oh, we need to make this update. It would prevent further app failures in the future. It will make the app faster for this number of people. That makes sense than telling them there's an infrastructure update we need to make to the code base. And
All right.
Okay.
I think John Paul was raising his hand before.
Yeah, I was. So my question is, for somebody starting out, trying to learn Android now, what would you say should be the first thing such a person should focus on? Any general ideas for starters?
Yeah. I feel learning Android development now is a lot more chaotic than it was before. because really all we needed to focus on then was, learning how the XML works, learning some Java code, and then learning some content providers and whatever. Sorry, there's some cracking in the background.
Someone's mic is on. Let me see. Yeah, you can go on. I'll go that way.
Oh. Okay, so okay, yeah. So like I said, I feel like it's a lot more chaotic learning Android development now with the number of things that come up. But I feel like, in my opinion, you could try using a structured course from like Udacity, asking about how is someone that is just starting up in Android development can get on their feet and all of that. So yeah, and this is an opinionated advice, right? It's not like a standard advice or anything. Yeah. So I feel like you could go to some of these platforms that offer learning Android development, like Udacity or Pluralsight or Udemy, or some of these guys, Mindocs, Pro Android devs. These people try and like learn the Android development flow end to end. Forget about if he's using MVVM here or he's using Room or he's using Realm. Like, try to understand the full Android development process end to end. And then once you understand that, and you can build an app by yourself, and then you can now start understanding the differences and the choices between, this person used he used a different architecture here, and this person used this one. So understanding that full process by yourself, and then you can, before you start looking into tools themselves, before you start diving into coroutines, how do coroutines work, or how do you use flow, like before you dive into like the nitty-gritty, understand the full end-to-end process, and then now pick up things one by one and then build from there.
I think that answers John Paul's question. And but yeah, I also wanted to deepen a bit. So when you mean like from end to end, are there like specific components that you think people should learn?
Okay. So I think the average or the basic app that people build, it has a database, it calls some API, it does some it has some view operations or whatever. And then so end to end is different for like whatever tutorial you're following. But basically just try to understand how the development process works. How you build the app, how you deploy your Android phone, things like that, basically. Yeah.
And currently we have a new question. Someone, I think Babatunde asked, how was it like building the UI and UX of Cowrywise app and working closely with the product design team?
Okay. So contrary to popular opinion, I think people would think that it would be a UI headache, but it wasn't actually that that hard working with the UI UX guys. And this is because the lead UI designer was someone that had written Android apps before, and it was really familiar with the iOS ecosystem. So when he was designing, he would design things that he knew could work on the app, right? He would design things that he knew that were implementable. So the handoff process is really Figma, right? The design is done, drop the UI is on Figma. We have a couple of calls going through it together, asking for comments, and then once everyone is set, we just start doing the UI design. But then there are still a couple of times that for things like drop shadows, for example, that they're a mess to implement on Android even till now. So for drop shadows, like we'll still have to go over those things a couple of times. That, okay, let's remove this, let's put this, and then for sometimes colors too, because we have a brand design guideline that we follow, and then we pay a lot of attention to font sizes, to colors, to font styles. So if in the design it was bold, and then we can't find the exact kind of bold to implement on Android, and we have to like go back and do some changes, So yeah, but the handoff process is really seamless, and then the initial design part is also really seamless because they understand what would work on an Android app and what would not look nice on an Android app. And then, so one thing is that the designs are done like using the iOS, they're done iOS first, but then interpreting it to Android is pretty easy because we don't use iOS specific elements. It's the whole material design, what's it called? The whole material design ecosystem stuff that we use. So it's really easy to translate from the design file to Android code and to Android UI.
And do you have like resources where Android devs can learn how to implement designs, like where you go to find the available widgets or things like that?
I don't think I have any of those resources, to be honest. I don't think I looked out for stuff like that. I can't remember if I used any of that. No.
Okay. I remember someone also asked in the previous meeting how you keep up with new trends in the Android ecosystem.
Yeah. So first of all, there's Twitter now, right? And then I feel like everyone should be on Twitter at this, even if you don't tweet, but like just to follow like industry thought leaders and stuff like that. So there's Twitter. Sorry. Yeah, so there's Twitter. We have engineering blogs. One of my one of my best Android engineering blogs is this Pro Android Devs. I'm not sure if I got the name right. Pro Android. Yeah, Pro Android Dev, right? That is also a really good resource. There's MindDocs too. So yeah, you can, and if you want to keep like up to date with these blogs, there's this app. I can't remember it. You can bookmark them, and then it's like an RSS feed. If I find it, I'll send it to the WhatsApp group chat. But yeah, and then there's also YouTube. If you follow like some engineering or blogs and stuff on YouTube, they would recommend other ones for you to follow and watch videos from them. So that's also a good what's it called, resource. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. I think Twitter is also very helpful. And keeping up with new things is one of the reasons why I stay on Twitter a lot. And so, I mean, what's the last exciting thing you learned in Android? The last trend that really caught your attention?
So to be honest, I haven't been in the Android ecosystem for a while now. As I started focusing more on backend. But I think the most interesting thing I learned in the ecosystem was that you could now use Jetpack. Is it Jetpack Compose? No, what's that other one? Kotlin something. Kotlin multi-platform. Yeah, KMM. Yeah, that was now available for like desktop too or something. I'm like, okay, so everyone is doing the whole multi-platform thing now. Compose. Everyone is and even Flutter too. So it's like we're stuck using the same kind of tools for more. Like it's a funny phenomenon actually. We have multiple things to do multi-platform now. Yeah, that was the last thing I caught up with.
Tried it out yet, or you're still in
No, I
it?
haven't. Nah, I haven't tried it out. I'm even like still like in the shadows in trying out Compose per se, but like yeah, I haven't tried out KMM yet.
Yeah, I think Taslim has a question.
Yeah. So most entry level developers, they have great difficulty with choosing what stack to learn, like front end or back end, etc. But then you seem
Yeah.
to be progressively advancing with two entirely different stacks at the early part of your career. So,
Mm.
like, what's your advice to entry level people in relation to this? Like, is there any harm juggling two stacks?
Yeah, okay. Thank you for that question. So the reason why I could advance with two very divergent stack was because I took the time to, right? It's actually not a um it's not advisable, but it's something that you can actually do in the beginning. And the reason was I was actually interested in these things. So it wasn't like I was like learning them to get a new job role or whatever. Like I was just interested in learning Python and in learning Java like side by side, right? So for people that are just starting and then they feel like they need to choose a stack, I feel like you need to do a lot of research first on what you are comfortable with, and not just because, oh, it feels like that's what is trending right now. I mean, that's a good enough reason too, but like you need to be comfortable with whatever reason you are choosing to learn this stack, right? If you are choosing to go um, fully into Android and all of that, you need to know that it's not going to be rosy like in the beginning, right? So a lot of times, some people would think that, okay, I'm going to learn Android for 6 months, and then in the next 6 months, I should get a foreign gig. I should get a new remote role, and I should start working. And well, it's never that easy. It works like that for some people, but for some people, you still take like 3-4 months before you land your first gig or whatever. So what you can do is what you can do is pick something that you enjoy doing and build a shit ton of stuff on it. Do open source projects, side projects, do projects for your friends to just like keep building, right? And then eventually you would land that first role on it. And if you also want to like juggle multiple stacks, so it's fine. Just make sure it's something that you are actually interested in. Yeah. And the truth is that I feel like any like good engineer in any stack ends pretty well right now. So it doesn't matter if you are a data scientist or if you are a front-end designer. As far as you know your shit, you're going to earn well. That's really it.
Yeah, that sounds right. I think Hakim has the next slot.
Hello. Sorry, I don't know if anyone has a serious question because my question is not that serious, so I don't want to. It's a bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. David, hello. So my question is, why did you people say you will get back to me and you didn't? So that's my question. That's what I want to know.
So you should understand something, and this is not me trying to make an excuse, but we receive tons of applications. So it is very possible that we would miss getting back to some people. So it is not intentional at all. But now we have processes that would like help us like sort things like this out better. So if you want to apply again, you actually can apply. But I'm really sorry that we missed it out. It's not an excuse. We should do better, but it was not intentional. We will not see what's your name? We won't see your CV and be like, okay, we're going to skip you today. That's not how it happens. So yeah, we're sorry about that.
Yeah, I knew that question was going to come up at some point. So someone asked if open source contributions weigh higher on CVs in contrast to personal projects.
It's the simple answer is no. It's there is I don't know. It's open source contributions are good. No, it's nice. Personal projects. Okay, I think this question is tricky. I thought it was work experience. So this question is tricky. I think I need more context if I can answer this question. Ola, can you like explain a bit what you mean by do they weigh higher on CVs?
Yes, absolutely. Good morning. So The idea I had in mind was you could have certain projects on your CV that might not necessarily be on the Play Store, maybe personal things that you've done when you started out in building an Android application. And maybe it's just one or two that might be on the Play Store that recruiters can actually go and check out. Compared to open source projects where whether it's popular or not, it will always have a place on the internet that people can always go and check it out. So I think, do you think it's possible that recruiters actually give more value to open source projects, apart from the fact that it's used by a lot of people? But again, since it's something they can check out, it's something they can, vet if you've actually contributed to it, compared to personal projects that are probably just sitting on GitHub, or maybe something you just worked on partially and things like that. Yeah.
Okay, so open source contributions here are like open source projects. Maybe you contributed to like Room or something now, right?
Yeah, it might not be Room, just anything open source that related to Android, something like that.
Okay, so yeah, open source contributions are nice. I mean, it shows that you know how to collaborate, you know how to use Git, but personal projects are also important. I mean, I can't speak for other recruiters, like what they pay more attention to, but for instance, myself, during like the last Android recruitment, I go to people's GitHub repos and I just check their sources, like what projects have you worked on by yourself, and read through the person's code and try to understand how the person, their thought process is right. They could check if the right documentation, if there's a README, stuff like that. So yeah, so for a different recruiter, it might be a different process. They might actually pay more attention to if you have done more open source collaborations than personal projects. So I think it depends on what the company is looking for at the time and how they recruit. So there isn't a hard rule that says, oh, this is going to weigh more than this, but you should have both of them. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, we have a question from Oluwaseun. Sean, your hand is up, so I was thinking you had a question. Yeah, it looks like they are not available at the moment. Yeah, I think if anyone else has a question, I think we have just a few more minutes to the end. So now is a good time to speak up, or forever hold your silence, whatever they say in weddings. But yeah, I think it has been very insightful, and also happy to finally hear about your journey and how you started off with backend and Android, and I mean I'm yet to learn any other stack apart from Android. It's just really something weird in Android that keeps sucking me in, and I'm trying to leave so that I can collect big money.
Yeah, to this man.
Well, yeah. So if I think lastly, if you were to give a very opinionated advice to a beginner on what stack to learn based on career advancement and how it would shape their mental picture of an engineer, which one would you tell them to go to?
And if I was to give an opinionated advice right now, is that okay, no, I don't think it's opinionated, but I just think it's the truth. A lot of these companies that you look up to that have Android teams that you think they have one badass Android project that it's very well structured, very well documented, and then when you just join in, you start working on it immediately. I can tell you first that that's a lie. A lot of us do not have that perfect code base that you will see in all this what's it called? In all these tutorial projects and everything, that they'll really put doc strings here, and then a lot of companies do not have that, right? So don't feel like bad when you write. You said everybody they cook beans. Yeah, a lot of us. There's sometimes it's really just one function that is keeping the code together, and then once you remove that thing, everything's scattered, and then there's no documentation for it too. So don't feel like bad or something when you write shitty code or where your code doesn't look that nice. A lot of us have been in that position too, and then we're all working to like get better than where we were yesterday. That's pretty much it. So don't feel bad about your shitty code. Everybody does write shitty code. Yeah.
Awesome. Sharon is raising their hand again. Are you finally available? Oluwaseun. Okay. And yeah, I think that's likely a wrap.
Yeah.
I think everyone has, really gained a lot from today's meetup, and it's also setting a nice tone for the next one. And hopefully you also be available to attend. Well, we know you're a busy man, so it's fine. I think people asked, someone asked for your social media or maybe blog.
Oh, yeah, so it's O3 codes everywhere.
Trademark.
Yeah, O3 codes on every social media. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Do you also have a personal blog or?
No, I don't have a personal blog right now. I think we should write more on career engineering blog this year. I mean, we've have it didn't write any last year, but like this year we should try to write more. Yeah. So yeah, check out our blog. We're coming.
Great. Yeah, thanks a lot for sharing with us today, and I think for everyone else, have a nice day and see you next time. Yep. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah, bye, guys.
All right, bye. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.